1, 2, 3, 4. That's Venice Boardwalk. I'm buying it, and that gives me a Monopoly. Gee, this Alley Monopoly is great because I'm good at Monopoly. I like the board game Monopoly. We're playing Monopoly right now.
Who are you explaining that to? I'm playing with you. Give me the dice. It's my turn. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, Bill Cosby's star on the Walk of Fame. When did this game come out?
Are you going to buy it?
I can't. I spent all my money on the restaurant they filmed Rush Hour in. That's really bad, but they filmed Rush Hour there.
Well, give me. It's my turn. I'm going to put 10 houses on the Venice Boardwalk.
You can only have 4 houses per property.
You're one of those. Let me tell you how the real world works, okay? You fit as many houses onto a property as you can and raspberries to the regulations.
Well, this is the game. There's physically not enough room on the board.
That's what they said about the Silver Lake.
You have to spread out your property. Why don't you build something in MacArthur Park?
Nobody's building anything in MacArthur Park.
Well, the rulebook says right here, no player can build more than 4 houses on a property unless they're the top hat. Then they can do whatever they want, and I have to address you as sir. And you're the thimble. Who do you think you are, cowboy?
Well, I'm trying to work my way up the social ladder. One day I hope to own race car. Look, there's plenty of room for all these houses. These people don't need a backyard. These people don't need a front yard. And nobody needs parking. Everyone's riding bikes, so it takes that underground machine that takes them to the 3 places they need to go.
You need to follow the rules. They're there to make me feel safe.
No, everybody is moving on to our Monopoly board. We need to accommodate them.
You're creating an unsustainable housing market.
If I make all the 2-lane roads one-way streets, I could fit in 2 more houses.
This is what are you going to do when there's an earthquake? You've ruined my bar mitzvah!
It's okay. Your earthquake just ripped the board in half. That means more space for me to put more houses. And with all this new earth, I have the room for storefronts, bakeries, galleries, a hat store, a pet accessory store, another hat store, a store that sells succulents, and 2 Starbucks to bookend the block. And I could charge them whatever, and they'll pay for it because this is Los Angeles. And I'm a thimble of this city's future. Sorry, I meant symbol. I get a lisp when I'm excited.
You fat cats are all the same, pushing out the average and low-income citizens to cater to the ultra-rich and super sexy. You don't care how unaffordable you're making the city for the rest of us that are just trying to get by. That's why I proudly carry around this membership card for the Democratic Party, and you can never take that away from me. This means something.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, the earthquake just moved all my houses onto your property.
Is the Republican Party hiring?
Episode 56 of LA Meekly begins in 5, 4, 3...
Edit. That's
edit. We'll edit from this point on. Everything after this is cut.
We'll bring in the voice actor.
I want somebody who sounds like James Mason to do my voice.
I want someone who sounds like Mansfield to do James Mansfield. Hello, everybody.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Welcome to episode 56 of LA.
Oh my God, what is happening?
Meekly. I'm auditioning for Stevie in the Malcolm in the Middle reboot.
I hope that you get it. I hope that you land all the roles that you ever wanted. If you want to play
Stevie.
Just Stevie. It turns out it's just Stevie. And only the Stefan part in the reboot of Family Matters. Not Steve Urkel. Just when he plays Stefan do I want to play him.
So welcome to the month of August.
Hot August.
Yeah.
August.
Farmer Hoggist.
Farmer Hoggist.
My favorite movie. Stevie. Boy in the City.
You did good, Stevie.
Even with a fake character, you can't get the quote right. That'll do, pig.
That's not even a real movie. We all learned it. Babe is a fantasy scene within Charlotte's Web. Yeah. You are swallowing a lot of saliva right
I know. I had too many donuts.
You had 2 donuts, and that's too many for you. God knows how much stolen portals you had before that.
Let's not let everyone know how much Portos I took home from the event we hosted a few days ago.
Like a raccoon. Just filling
don't mention raccoons because I also hit a raccoon.
That thing that like when Jim Morrison was a child, he saw like a Native American on the side of the road and he thought his spirit inhabited him or something. That's you with a raccoon that you killed.
I see it more of a Freaky Friday with that raccoon. A Freaky Thursday.
I have to do open mics with this raccoon all week.
I have to lay all these eggs in the sewer. because that's what mammals do. But to get back to thanks again to everyone who came out and put on the busting cancer benefit that they were on.
Yeah, that they were
those
on.
doubles we had.
We all seen Twin Peaks. It was
the cool version of us.
It was a lot of fun, and we wore suits and we told jokes and we
sweat.
Portos.
I took a lot of Portos from the craft services table.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was that. Let's talk about also something we've done in the last month. Let's get this thing going here. Greg, what have you done in the last month that people will find you charming to talk about?
The most charming thing I've ever done. I stayed at the Queen Mary in one of the rooms of the Queen Mary, and it was fantastico. No ghosts, and right outside of our door was a plaque saying this is where people have seen ghosts. But unfortunately, we were haunted more by ghost tours than actual ghosts. But the windows are portholes, and you stick your head out, and you're
portholes.
Portholes.
I took so much from those portholes.
Everything you put down is slanted slightly because you're on a boat.
Does it rock?
No, it's too big to rock.
So I can't come knocking.
It's more of a folk boat.
This boat ready to rock? No, it's very securely moored. That's Def Leppard playing a concert on the Queen Mary. Anyway, and having a conversation with the captain.
With the captain who knows who they are, doesn't care. More of a Thin Lizzy guy.
I'm curious of being there, but is it a nice hotel to stay at?
I'm sure there was better rooms. But ours was,
better than what you stayed at?
Come on. No, but
do they know who you are?
I've only been on there for the Haunted Maze one 10 years ago. But that was the only time I've ever been on there. So I didn't even know that they rented rooms that you could stay on. I think we talked about it before. Maybe, I don't know if you're Aaron Mankey or not, but...
I believe I am. I think we had a conversation around this, and please listen to my other podcast. And buy my book.
Buy my book.
Buy my book. It's scary.
Book.
If you read it, it might make you have a few goosebumps. No relation.
Patent pending. And now Laura's going to come after us. And now we're making enemies with every other podcast that's more popular than us, which is there's 4 probably.
Adam Carolla.
Joe Rogan.
Lore.
My Favorite Murder 2 times. It was really nice.
You were there for a wedding.
Yeah, we were there for a wedding.
Where was the wedding? Was it in a ballroom?
It was at the Reef, which we got in the car and then we drove 16 feet and we're like, oh, it's right here. It was very close. But the Reef was where they had the wedding.
It was an actual reef. It's in the middle of the water.
Yeah. We had to wear snorkel. The wedding dress was aquatic. It was a surf suit.
The train of the dress captured a lot of tunas and dolphins. It was illegal.
There's a lot of fishermen behind her. Tuna.
My thing, it's a little something called Sweet.
Oh, no.
It's the candy store that's in the Hollywood and Highland complex. Have you been to it?
No, I have not.
It's a really good candy.
Yeah?
Here's the thing. It showed up 4 years ago or something, and it had all these grand plans of in this room there's going to be this, and in this room there's going to be this. And there wasn't really anything in any of those rooms. But as the years have gone by, I'll go there.
They actually filled the spaces up?
Yeah, they filled the spaces up. And we were going to see a movie at the Chinese theater, and we had some time, so we went in there. And it's really sort of come into its own. It has all these different departments. One of them is an Elvira department of candy.
Okay.
So it has Elvira dresses and merchandise and stuff, but it also has Elvira's sour taffy and that sort of thing. And then there's a whole section for fudge, and there's a create your own chocolate bar lab, and you get to pick I want pretzels, Skittles, and this on my chocolate bar, and they'll make it for you.
That's pretty cool.
It's like Subway for a chocolate bar. And then they have all these different sections, and then vintage candy, of course, and it's also a pretty good LA gift shop. If you're looking for souvenirs, it's pretty cool. It's one story up in the Hollywood and Highland complex, closer to the Chinese theater.
Okay, where it's not LA Life. What do they call that whole complex?
Right by LA Life.
Yeah, it's by LA Life. No, what do they call that complex? Something.
The Hollywood and Highland complex, the Intolerance Center.
That's what it is.
Set is.
I don't know what it's called. It's gonna bug me out. Kodak.
It's called the Dolby Theater now.
Dolby.
It's near the Dolby Theater. It's if you're walking into the Oscars, as I do at least once a year, you go up that grand staircase, which I always make a point to do when I'm going to the Oscars. And it's right when you go up, it's to the left. It's basically the left side of that whole thing. It's a pretty big place.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
It's very cool. It's of course it's expensive, but it's a cool place at least to just look around and maybe shoplift.
And if that's how you get your rocks off, that's fine.
Your pop rocks off. I think they might have abandoned these plans, but the whole thing is connected as one. But there were other storefronts across the way that were coming soon. This is going to be the marshmallow department, but that seems to have gone away. Yeah. But I hope that eventually the entire Hollywood Highland complex is just this candy store.
It's going to become a candy factory one day where they're you know what, we should just make it here too.
No public allowed until one day we'll have a contest.
Nobody goes in and nobody comes out.
This is when we all become Charlie Bucket because of the housing crisis, which is what we're going to talk about today. But before we get to the housing crisis, let's answer a listener question.
Yes, let's do that.
From Charlie Bucket. Why won't you let me in your factory?
Because you're poor.
dirty. And we're slumlords. This question this month is from Jonathan Figueroa.
Nailed pronunciation.
No, the accents were there. The whole thing was covered with an umlaut. So here's his question. If you could be there to witness any moment in LA's history, which would it be?
You want to go first?
No, because I think you have a better answer than me.
I would like to be there when Richard Ramirez was captured on Hubbard Street.
That's good.
I would love to have been there to watch the entire thing happen, from him trying to steal a
him
car,
get hit with a baseball bat.
hit with a pipe, people shouting at him be like, I'm the devil, and they're like, okay, we're going to knock you down again.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a dream scenario to watch that go down. I'm very into true crime, and very few times is it resolved like that, where a neighborhood's like, I think we got him.
When you were first telling me that story, it felt good to just hear it. So yes, I imagine seeing a person get beat with a pipe would feel even better.
Yeah, it depends on the person. In that situation, that's the perfect person you want to see hit with a pipe and get arrested. I never thought that I would be on that side of the Frankenstein story where I'm like, have a pitchfork and I'm like, get him! But like, this
Just
is
misunderstood. He just wanted to be loved.
He just wanted to tour everyone's homes.
Contrary to Frankenstein lore, he loved fire. He just loved it. Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah. That's a satisfying one. I was having trouble trying to pinpoint something because I was trying to think like, I wish I could be there at the moment when Henry Huntington realized his empire was defeated. But like, I'm sure he wasn't.
I want to see him be cosmically humbled.
I know. I bet he wasn't like sitting at a desk and like read a number and then was just like just like a 100-yard stare or whatever it's called. I'm sure it wasn't like that. I was thinking of something that you were also considering, which was the Battle of LA.
Yes, the weather balloon.
Balloon
gone awry
because it's an alien, but it happened throughout so many parts of the city. So maybe at that fort, what was it, Fort MacArthur? Whatever was happening at the fort of them.
What is that? Yeah, that must have been.
Load the Gatling guns. We got to take down an alien. That would have been exciting. I think,
would have been
for those 20 minutes.
I'm sure it was similar to when we were always just seeing pictures of Elon Musk's rocket, and people were like, "What is that?" And we're like, "Oh, it's here! It's finally hit!"
Yeah, but I experienced that, so my grandkids will be talking about that. But here's the other thing that also would have been fun to witness was Lucille Ball hearing radio signals in her teeth.
The same thing of being in the car with her. I'm like,
Ricky,
like the old timey, like the bandage wrapped around her, like the length of her head,
as if she just got her molars pulled out.
Exactly, and she's just driving with one hand covering her
driving
face.
Down Balboa Boulevard. But it wasn't even that. It was like full on Japanese voices.
George Takei trying to talk to me? We had a discussion of like, is this question asking if we could exist in a bubble and can't affect anything and just watch it, or are we going to be affected by the thing that's happening? Because St. Francis Dam was another one where I like to watch that happen.
Yeah, it would be terrifying. Crazy to see.
Yeah, but like, am I going to be swept up when it?
Yeah, and no. Another thing was Elisa Lam. I want to know exactly what happened, but at the same time, is it going to happen to me too if I go back?
Exactly.
In time?
Yeah. Me and my girlfriend went to the. Here's another thing we did. We went to the Perch.
We went to the Queen Mary.
We went to the Perch. We were there. The Perch is that rooftop bar on Hill downtown. We had a nice time, whatever. Then we went to the Biltmore because it was open, and they have a drink called the Black Dahlia, and we were sitting there where I was having a Black Dahlia, but then her and I had a long discussion about the body dump site. I got really into it. Like, of course he like he could have left her anywhere, but he posed her. He posed her like she's 1/4, but she's couldn't do it. And I went into this whole thing, and I was like, I want to be there just to see what he looked like. He probably never know.
It was the Golden State Killer, the immortal Golden State Killer.
Immortal. He is Mike Piazza, the Golden State Killer. All my crime stuff, basically, but like nothing will be as satisfying as seeing Richard Ramirez get hit.
My stuff was more like I want to be at that one alien sighting. Like I want to see that sheep thing that someone saw in Topanga Canyon. I want to see that whatever they saw on Catalina Island under the water.
Yeah,
but it was all lies. I made that all up, so I can't go into a fake past.
I mean, I'm the one posting on these alien forums and then going back and reading it later and be like, oh, what's that?
This whole podcast is an echo chamber. We write the articles and then tell you about them.
I like to think of it more of an information glory hole, but I'm both people.
Somehow
I'm both people.
It's more of just a hole in my pants, and I have no ribs like Michael Jackson. I wish I could see that surgery. Boy, oh howdy. I want to see Michael Jackson take his last drink of that stuff that killed him. So anyway, if you have a question question for us, feel free to email it to us, la.meekly@gmail.com with those accent marks, umlauts everywhere, .umlaut, or you can send us one on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
wherever we accept messages, which is
shout it out loud outside of our bedroom windows. You all know where we live.
Let's get into it.
Let's answer the hard questions. You know that part of all that when they had that older lady come and tell the kids the saddest news in the world? Think of this show as all that, and now this is the episode where Linda Ellerby comes out.
You knew her name. Oh my God. Just to give you a preface, this is not one that we researched very hard. We wanted to have more of a discussion episode where we just kind of talk about stuff.
It's our annual discussion episode.
Yeah, because this is something you can do a lot of research on, but there's not like a history. Oh, there's a history of it, but like it's like an unresolved issue.
Yeah, there's also not an answer that we have. If you're coming to us for answers on this one, which let's say what we're talking about the housing crisis that's in Los Angeles right now.
And there are seemingly no answers, just more questions and more like...
There's numbers and questions. And
this episode should be called Numbers and Questions. That'll get people in. I'll get that math crowd we're chasing.
We've got them. If there's one crowd we have, and there is one crowd we have. We were trying to think of how best to kick this conversation off.
I'm thinking along the lines of, and this is what I thought today.
What do you do for a living?
It's your first time here?
Did it hurt?
When you fell out of that apartment because there's so many people in it.
Did it hurt when you were hit with a crippling rent increase?
Let's just talk, first of all, that all the things that are tangled up in the housing crisis, which is homelessness,
gentrification, rent. Gentrification, homelessness, rent.
Everybody since, the 1880s has been flocking to Los Angeles for different reasons. Like, we're the siren calling people out to see. It was probably not until the 60s or 70s that it started to become like a real issue. Like, we have a lot of people, not everyone has jobs, because we're going through like each decade has a different recession or a Great Depression. We're always looking for places to put people. There's not always the most jobs that people can afford, and we're just trying to make life livable, and it seems to only get worse through the decades.
Well, I did research on the wrong topic. I thought that the housing crisis was a good thing.
There's always going to be a flow of people wanting to come to Los Angeles for whatever reason.
Well, some people think that building more housing would be the answer to that because there's so many more people coming. The thing is, if you build more housing, those houses are just going to still be expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
And then even if that does work, like even if you do build more housing and the prices do drop, that just means more people are going to want to live here.
Exactly.
And that creates a whole new housing shortage.
Yeah, exactly. The supply and demand is always going to be more demand than supply.
Well,
one more thing before this episode is going to be
hardball. Point, counterpoint.
Let's say we go ahead and we try to accommodate all the people coming here, and let's say that we are able to make it affordable. How much of the natural landscape are we willing to sacrifice?
That's the thing. There's not unlimited space in Los Angeles. Like there's mountains on one side, there's ocean on the other side. We can't just have like, well, we're the mountain dwellers now, and the buildings themselves can't go too high because of earthquakes. So there are limitations. It's a huge city, but there's limitations.
Yeah. As a city, like you've been to more cities than I have, and you've been to cities.
4 cities.
Like I always think of.
I've been to Stockton.
I've been to Stockton. Wow, little Detroit. But like you think about when you're in the city, and you're like, let's say you're in like a San Francisco or something where there's just they fit so many people into a certain amount of space. You create a city that's a metropolitan, but you need like air to breathe. You know what I mean? Like you need long streets of nothing being there. And LA has some of that in some spots. But if we take up all that space and just put like condos and apartment complexes and houses on
But the thing is, a city doesn't need to have long stretches of nothing. That's just what Los Angeles has, which is what makes it Los Angeles.
Exactly. It doesn't need that.
Manhattan is its own thing. Like everything is there on top of each other, really high up. Okay. Los Angeles is...
I see what you mean. But
they're two different feels for a city. And if Los Angeles is edging towards like more dense, then it becomes more of a city like Manhattan.
And I'm afraid of it becoming that, because think of every time that you get out of the city or get out of the county and you just start seeing like more fields and stuff when you go to like Hemet or you go to Palmdale.
Is that the horizon?
It just feels like you can suddenly breathe, and we need pockets of the city to be like that.
Well, like if more people are coming, that's more jobs. You need more jobs.
Yeah.
You need more resources. You need more infrastructure. That means you need more money. Yeah. That means, how many buildings is it going to take? How dense is it going to get? What is the end game?
Yeah,
they keep describing it as an existential crisis for the city.
Yeah.
Like, what are we? What do we want to be?
Just thinking about, like, okay, how do we, a lot of people are leaving because they can't afford to live comfortably or even live above the line. So they're moving to out of county or even out of state to like Arizona or Texas.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, well, what if Los Angeles or Hollywood stops being the film center of the country? That might get people to go to other states and go to there and then go to this little breathing room, but then we'll lose our, like, that's the main one of the main incomes of Los Angeles.
We don't want to go backward, do you?
It would be interesting to see what would happen.
There's a term for people like you, actually.
What's it called? Find it in your paperwork.
A bigot.
Stupid, smelly idiot who has a stupid, stinky face.
It's a way of thinking like that. It's called the incumbency effect, meaning that's when locals in a neighborhood are hostile to any change because they're afraid it's going to bring more traffic or it's going to bring in people that I don't want, like lower income people or this sort of person or this sort of person.
Yeah, I guess.
And fighting that sort of thing, whatever, it's understandable, but it also slows down the efforts people are trying to push forward to fix these problems.
Okay, but
Counterpoint.
But is fixing the problem it might fix one thing, but because it's tangled up in issues of gentrification and homelessness, that like you can fix one problem and then two more problems will fall on top of it. Like, it's such a tangled mess. Can we talk about homeless people now?
Please no.
Please no.
I just ate.
I was reading today even that Garcetti was building this million or multi-million-dollar complexes for homeless people by Alvaro Street, and it could fit like 12 people or like 12 units or something like that. And it's like that solves a little bit of the problem.
Yeah.
And it's...
Well, I mean, they passed all in 2016, there was Prop HHH, Triple H.
Triple H, yeah.
My favorite proposition in the World Proposition Federation. That is supposed to create up to 10,000 permanent supportive housing units over 10 years. And then there was Measure H, which is supposed to generate $355 million in taxes to help homeless people. But a lot of homeless people don't want to be a part of that. So you can build all this stuff. You can't force homeless people into a home if they don't want to be in a home.
I thought that I had figured a brilliant thing out, and that you're trying to get homeless people off the streets, but from the top bottom of like the housing crisis of only rich people can afford to live in homes comfortably, and the middle class is fighting to stay in homes or even apartments that are multi-roomed and stuff. So like people at the bottom are being pushed. Like after the recession of 2010, you saw like fresh people on the streets who were like, oh, you're like just like a regular looking guy. You're not like a street person. But then
this is my first day on the job.
What I discovered, I didn't discover it, but I had to step back and think, oh, there's a lot of reasons why people are homeless. Like that's not just one thing.
Well, you want to hear the statistics, the most recent homeless things? It's pretty crazy. In 2017, 8,000 people became newly homeless just in 1 year. And that brings the average in LA County of homeless people to 57,794, which was a 23% increase from 2016, and that's the biggest increase they've ever seen since they started keeping track of that in 2005.
And you're even hearing stories from people that have jobs and are homeless, and that's, I don't know.
Well, let me talk into the mic. I was getting casual.
I loosened my tie.
I loosened my black and white suit that I'm wearing to talk about this. One last thing about the homelessness in Southern California is worse than in other parts of the country because 74% of them aren't in shelters. I guess that's compared to the national average, which is 32%. But the thing about people, the thing about people is they don't want to change. It's called severely rent burdened, where like you can have a job and have a home, but if one thing goes wrong, you're homeless.
Yeah,
and
that's scary.
There's 600,000 people in the city that are severely rent burdened, which means that they're spending over half their income on rent, and you're only
to be like 20 to
30%. You're not supposed to spend more than.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Please, I'm trying to script this whole thing. You didn't read the script I sent you. It's because of that people, like you said, they're commuting like 100 miles to be able to keep their job, but also have a place to live. But in doing that, you're either paying too much for rent living here, or you're paying too much to commute and spending so much of your time commuting. It doesn't balance out.
It doesn't balance out. And where people are moving to, there aren't a lot of jobs. Like if you move to Palmdale, you won't necessarily get the same opportunity you have here in the city where there's jobs everywhere. Yeah.
Why would you have the same opportunity with Palmdale? That's why people don't live in Palmdale. That's why we're saying
Jesus
it as
Christ, what I unlocked right now.
That's why we're saying as if like you have to live in Palmdale. Yeah, that's why. There's no opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thus concludes my Palmdale segment.
To go back to the 30%, it has to be around there to survive and to stay above the line. That's what public housing and the Section 8 housing offer people who can qualify for that, is that they control it at that limit there. It comes out of your paycheck. 30% of your paycheck will go towards whatever you can afford, but it's public housing or it's Section 8 housing.
It's a way to live, but like not everyone wants to live like that.
Yeah.
Like people want their own home. They want a yard or something like that.
Or you might not qualify because you make a little bit too much, but even a little bit too much does not keep you surviving.
Yeah.
I mean, it keeps you surviving, but not like thriving. Do you think that you could ever afford to live in a studio apartment by yourself?
If my fiance...
Oh, congratulations!
Hey! Why? What? If she left me and I got to keep the apartment, like if I would have to...
I want to stay in this room full of tarnished memories. Now, go ahead.
I'd like to keep it as is.
Leave your stuff.
Don't vacuum. I would be able to, if I got more hours at work, stay at my place, but that's because I'm really lucky with my rent. Like if I had to move somewhere else, I would not find a place I would be able to afford on my own. Unless I lived in, like Sylmar or maybe not even there. I don't know.
No, not even Sylmar.
I would have to get roommates or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
And that's even worse
than
living in Sylmar. But don't get me started on Palmdale.
I think I looked up like the more affordable areas of the city. I think one was South LA, and I forget where the other one was. I don't remember what the other part. I looked on a graph, but even there, I was like, damn, it's still kind of pricey.
South LA, I was looking at home prices. For a home we're talking about in April,
this year?
3 months ago or whatever that was, LA set an all-time record for the medium home price, which it is... Whoa! It was $590,000. But the thing is, that number, it fluctuates so crazy because in South LA it's $375,000, but then in Beverly Hills it's $2.5 million. But that's, even if it's a place like in Echo Park, I'm sure it's close to $1 million at least.
It is.
LA is the 9th most expensive city in the U.S. and we're the 2nd largest city in the U.S. It's big business of running a city.
I also read a lot of things about if you want to slowly mesh into gentrification around the UCL or USC area, which is in like the beginning of South LA. That's kind of where it starts, is near Washington. People are building condos and evicting like apartment complexes full of like 80 people are all getting evicted at once because they can't afford this new price because this guy wants to build a condo for students and stuff. And it's sort of like, well, there has to be a balance between the two. Like, sure, we want students to come here, but at the same time, that you can't like change.
I mean, there's all those rules about like if you're building this sort of building, you have to put this many affordable things. If you're let me see. Let me check my script again. The thing is, California in general set all these goals that it's not keeping up with. The estimate for all of California is that we are going to need between 1.8 million to 3.5 million new homes by the year 2025 just to absorb what they project the population growth.
That's a projection.
That's a projection.
Like our needs now.
No.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because they're coming. The plane tickets are bought. They're coming. So the statewide production right now is 100,000 a year short of even the lowest of those goals.
Wow.
And most of that building isn't happening in Los Angeles or places like that. It's happening in Riverside and Hemet, as you will, and Palmdale. So that's just creating more sprawl and making people live further away and, again, losing that profit margin. In 1963, they built over 300,000 multifamily homes, and in 2015, it was around 90,000. So, like, the production is way too low. Apparently, the only parts of LA that met their goals in 2017 were West Hollywood, San Fernando, and Beverly Hills. But that's only because Beverly Hills just needed to build 3 houses to set its goal. Like the standards are so low. There's a new law that if LA keeps falling behind, they're being punished by being forced to, instead of going forward with these, expensive luxury homes, they have to instead focus on buildings that offer at least 10% affordable housing. So like they're trying to push for appeasing everybody.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And Garcetti, it seems like he definitely wants that, or is at least pushing for it to get affordable housing out there. It's just like, it feels like it almost an impossible endeavor. Okay. He shrugged. Nobody he could. It was not an audible thing.
Shrugged.
He emphatically shrugged. Yeah. Do you think that Riverside, Hemet, Palmdale will ever become metropolitan cities? Ever? Do you think that enough people will move to that area where suddenly it becomes a place where people will flock to?
I mean, what makes a city something you flock to? Like there has to be some industry or some, like why did people flock to San Jose or whatever for Apple and all that? But like there has to be some sort of industry. I don't know. I mean, even it would have to take a lot because it's not just Apple is in Cupertino or whatever. It's not like Cupertino is San Francisco. It's just that a lot of people are there for that one job and then other companies came, but it's still just sort of a one trick town.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
everyone's there to do software stuff, but LA has, you know, major cities have like, well, we have this, we have production, we have,
Yeah.
there's a lot of, I don't know.
There's a lot in LA, yeah. Over the weekend, I went to Virginia City.
Virginia City,
Nevada. I just left the state. I only go to towns that were popular from the 18th century.
I gotta catch. I'm a completist.
I'm a completist. No, 19th century. Sorry, but we passed a bunch of small little like you'd go after an hour and you'd hit like Bodie, and you go after an hour and you go for an hour, then you'd hit Bishop, and like the farther towards Nevada you get, they're all mining towns. They're thriving at the time because of mining, and once you mined everything out, you got all silver out, then it was completely done.
If you put all your eggs in one basket, I'm gonna come and eat the eggs. Once I make the biggest omelet you've ever seen, that town is crumbling. You have to diversify, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always thought like, you know, eventually in 200 years or something, the whole country is going to be, maybe not 200 years, but like most of the cities you think were small towns are going to be like as big as the other cities because the populations kind of keep growing. But maybe the big cities will just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And the rest will just stay the same because there's something about those places. Like you want to live in LA, you want to live in New York, you don't want to live in Palmdale.
But you and your family don't want to be in a small apartments. You go to Palmdale, you live there. But
that's why people move to, you know, like Idaho or something.
Yeah.
But like they just move there and they disappear.
A lot of people move
the
to
Idaho
Texas.
State, the Spud Killer gets them. A lot of people do move. Yeah.
Texas.
So many people move to Texas.
Or Arizona or New Mexico, any of those Southwest states.
Yeah.
I feel like Texas has gotten like, I don't know, bigger even. It's becoming more of like the cool city to go to, like San Antonio.
Yeah, Texas is the cool city.
It's getting cool cities
Don't
now.
tread on me. I'm the cool city.
Austin has become cool.
Well, Austin's been cool for a while, though. I guess you can build a cool city.
I think that's what it takes. Is it has to be cool.
Yeah, it does have to be cool.
But
yeah, it takes young people.
It
takes young people, and what's going to draw in young people, like
music festivals. Stupid music festivals.
Food halls.
That's why everyone's moving to Indio.
That's why that booming city of Coachella is the place to be.
But like, is there business in Coachella now? No,
I don't think so. I mean, we've driven through Coachella. There's Palm Springs right next to it, but like that's that's a old people
where's
town.
the casino? What city's the casino in?
Dinosaur gas station
Rocks.
place.
Yeah, Dinosaur Rock. I don't know.
But a casino isn't gonna.
Yeah, a casino's not gonna do it. But I'm
Unless
just thinking
it's a lot of casinos like Las Vegas. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like it takes so much to build. Like you have to build a city. You have to have an idea of what Mulholland and like what people who created or had a hand in creating these mega cities. Like you have to have a vision for it.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't just happen.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about what's going to make a city. Like, if you ever are these cities that everyone's flocking to going to become something because they couldn't make it in Los Angeles? That's what I was trying to get at.
That would be interesting. Of like, this is Hemet. You know, this is the new Los Angeles.
Yeah.
All of the people that couldn't make it there are now here. Like Los Angeles is it's too commercial. This is the real Los Angeles.
This is the real Los Angeles here.
I don't know.
In Riverside.
I doubt it.
I mean, think about like during the war when all the industries opened up and everyone was like, you can survive in a kind of desert town. You live near the factory that made the wings on an airplane or whatever. That was your job. So like it would take like another like epic catastrophe where we needed...
well, it's coming.
No.
So maybe. But another thing also is you need to have a big city. We learned this in the water episode. You need to have water. You need to have resources.
Yeah,
and those places don't have the resources to absorb that big of a population.
Yeah.
And if they do that, then that's going to drive up the prices. And there goes your charming Hemet.
Yeah, and then you have to
Palmdale.
move farther into... Now I live
I mean, unless teleportation was a thing, or like we could all just... Get this. I've got a patent.
I always feel so naive saying like they can't survive. They don't have any water, but like it's kind of that. I mean, none of us are going to have water in like 10 years anyways, and we all know what's going to happen.
That's the thing. There's so much water on the East Coast.
Share, pass it all over.
Why don't we build another aqueduct? The transcontinental aqueduct. Back to affordable housing in LA. Apparently, LA is on track to meet its overall housing goal of 82,000 new homes by the year 2021. But for affordable housing, it's so far behind. Since 2014, they've given out 45,820 permits for new units of housing, and only 1 in 10 of those are affordable. And a study says that we would need 568,255 affordable units to satisfy what we're dealing with now.
One. Do we have written down anywhere what affordable is?
Well, here's another thing. LA has the highest percentage of people renting in the city than any other city in the United States. 54% of the people living in LA are renting.
Really?
Yeah, because it's too expensive
To own a
home.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the rent has stabilized lately.
And what's it stabilized at, like 12?
No, well, there's different numbers, but what I saw was that the average rent for a one bedroom in LA is anywhere between $1,360 and $1,651. That's a one bedroom. But the average, we already talked about the average house price, $590,000. So everyone's just renting, nobody's owning, and that financially, in the long run, we're all screwed.
Yeah, I would think so. I feel like a lot of us are, as Dana Gould says, like 2 paychecks away from cannibalism. Like we're just gonna eat our own hands and everyone else's hands or whatever. It feels like everybody I know who rents has to rent with somebody else, and everyone, we're getting real comfortable with each other, living with each other now because we have to.
Let's talk about rent control a little bit. So the thing about rent control is in LA, it's only for certain buildings built before October 1st, 1978. That's because that was when the LA City Council froze the rent in place, because even then things were like, this is too much, this is the limit.
There was a recession in the mid-70s that was pretty bad.
The oil crisis, bell bottoms.
Gas lines. Bell bottom. There's a bell bottom shortage. There's a deficit on the bell bottoms.
Put a cap on the rent. We got to put all of our finances towards new bell bottoms.
We can't afford gas. We're using hairspray to fuel the cars.
The reason that date has never been updated was because in 1995 there was the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act, which was passed in California, that locked all rent control requirements in place at the time. But apparently in November there might be a thing to repeal that, to try to get a new. No, that's a good thing. Okay. Well, maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. Nothing seems to be entirely good or bad.
Lately, anytime something is repealed, it's bad.
No, but it'll set a new cap on housing. Like, I don't know. It seems like it'll be like, 28 October 1st, 2019. That's rent control. Anything before that can be rent controlled. Like, I live in a rent controlled place, and it's good. Like, my rent just went up, but
5%, the reasonable
3%.
amount. 3%. Everything I read is out of that Los Angeles encyclopedia, which is like, this is outdated.
The rent can only be raised 8% on your pueblo.
I didn't know that you can buy a building, and then when you buy the building and decide to build a new complex, it doesn't have to be rent controlled. I thought you always had to adhere to that.
No, that's the thing, because that's what was. Remember, a few months back, someone was considering buying my building, and I was afraid, because what they can do is they can demolish it and build a new building that isn't rent controlled, because it's built after 1978. Yeah. So first of all, they have to pay, I think, for you to help relocate a little bit, and they have to give you a lot of notice. But also, I think they might have to offer you, like, if you demolish a building with 14 rent-controlled units, your new building has to have 14 affordable units. Okay. And I think, not rent-controlled, but affordable, whatever that means. I think you have to give the people you just demolished their homes the opportunity to move in there. Okay. But the rent could be way higher.
Yeah, and it could be affordable for now and then raise above the rent-controlled limit.
Exactly. See you next year when we have to do this again.
It's really scary. All this stuff seems scary. Yeah, my area, which is Echo Park, it's gotten crazy over the last 10 to 12 years. But like, I know that because my parents own the home, and we have a little guest house in the back. If someone bought that property, they would for sure knock the house down and build like a unit for people. Like, it's big enough that you could do. You'd have to change. Like, you'd probably have to go to the housing authority, whoever does. But that's
right,
possible.
Just down the street from you, there's all those apartments closer towards Sunset Boulevard. And
Yeah.
What's your address again? What's your bank account number?
Everything's a condo now. Even thinking about like on Figueroa and Sunset, like they built like these giant complexes. I remember there was a barbecue place there, and it was dirt lots, which I like. I like dirt lots a lot. But they just like, okay, we have a certain amount. How many people can we fit into this spot right here? That just feels so claustrophobic to me.
I don't know if that's near a metro stop, but the thing is, that's like one of the new plans is to build more near metro stations so that people will be taking more metro. Like in 2017, they measured JJ. It was a dynamite measure. It got passed to give incentives to build affordable housing near traffic stops. So that's not traffic stops.
Metro stops.
Corners. By every stop sign.
Every other block, basically.
Yeah, near metro stops, because that is one idea of like more people is going to be more traffic, but maybe
less
if
cars.
We build it, we build it, they will still come.
Do you like that idea?
Building near metro stops? Yeah. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But the thing is, there's so many people who claim I have no car. I live in downtown Los Angeles and it's fine. Yeah. I don't know how you can really live in Los Angeles without a car, especially as it is right now. Maybe in 20 years or whatever, maybe. But even then, it's so, like you're not experiencing the same experience of Los Angeles, which at the same time, that's the thing. This whole thing is like, stop coming. We have too much. But also, if you're coming, you got to do it right,
You gotta
which is
do-
going to make this
Yeah.
problem, which is going to make our situation worse. I can't imagine how you can live fully in Los Angeles without a car.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like,
Even thinking
there's
of-
Uber and all that,
Yeah.
but like that is going to be expensive.
It's gonna
If
cripple you.
every time you want to go do something, you have to pay $8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to do that?
You can survive on a bike. I don't know if you'd survive, but you could have fun on a bike and go to things. But like, think about the time and stuff. Think about
It's whatever quality of life you want to live.
Yeah. Our mutual friend Edric had a friend come over from, I forget what city, I think he was from Texas. And he was talking to somebody. He's like, I'm just going to take the bus to West Covina. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody does that. Like, that's, you know how far that is? Like, that's.
See you in a week.
Yeah, see, exactly. Even thinking about the expo line that goes to Santa Monica, let's say that you'd rather go to, what area I'm thinking of? Like,
Say you want to go to Santa Monica, but you want to go to Montana Avenue,
Yes.
and you take the Expo line, you're at 3rd Street Promenade, and if
And
you want to
that's
get
on-
there, you got to walk like an hour to
yeah,
get to Montana.
that's on Lincoln and Montana. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's far. If
It's-
we're thinking of the new, or not the new art, the, what's the Arrow.
The Arrow Theater, yeah. That's exactly what I'm thinking
Yeah,
of.
okay, yeah. I remember when we walked from the Arrow to 3rd Street, and they were like, okay, back to the movie. And like, we walked there, we ate one slice of pizza, and then we turned around, walked back to an hour.
The city's just too big.
Yeah.
It's too big because it's not like Manhattan where everything's everywhere. Like, there are huge stretches throughout Los Angeles, exactly like you were talking about, of just nothing, and that's part of what Los Angeles is, or just houses or something.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to have a good time walking from the 3rd Street Promenade.
No.
I sure didn't. It's also this whole thing because California is having a business boom,
Yeah.
as they say, and this whole housing thing is kind of ruining that because companies don't want to be in Los Angeles if none of their employees can afford to live
Yeah.
in the city. So these companies are moving out of the cities or out of the state, and apparently it's costing the state $40 billion a year losing these businesses
Yeah.
just because their employees can't afford to live here.
But maybe
It's
that
cool.
maybe that's what will make outside cities thrive. Don't we have enough businesses here to survive without new business coming in?
Well, people need jobs, don't they?
I guess so. Yeah.
You can't stop progress. You don't want to stop progress.
You don't
You're
wanna-
Trump. Have you been hacked by Russia? You were one of the 12 that was indicted. That's why we're back in international waters recording this podcast.
Sitting on the Queen Mary, which is technically international waters, but we're in Long Beach. It feels like there's a flood and there's just too many holes to stop leaks
Yeah,
from.
but I mean, how can Los Angeles can't fail, can it? You know,
I mean,
how could an American city fail?
an American city? Let's call Michigan and find out.
I don't think it's worth it to try to discourage people from coming because that's sort of what makes the city what it is.
But it feels like newcomers are coming in and pushing out people who've been here for a long time.
Yeah. Well, that brings us back to gentrification. In Boyle Heights, apparently, some places are getting 80% rent increases.
That is insane.
That is insane.
That's
because
insane. And they're having rent strikes there and other places too. We're
yeah,
having some of the
rent
most rent
strikes.
strikes
That's
in
another
this
thing.
city.
The Los Angeles Tenants Union, they're doing these rent strikes, these boycotts
Yeah.
where you don't pay your rent, which is apparently something they did in the late 1800s and early 1900s that they're starting to do again. I read that the sort of disparity that's going on right now, this level of inequality of like homeless, ultra rich,
Yeah.
and about to be homeless.
Yeah,
like
struggling middle class. Yeah.
This hasn't been like this since the Gilded Age. And what happened after that was the Great Depression. So like it's this crazy thing, but gentrification is so tricky.
It is.
Because it sucks when a neighborhood loses its personality,
Yeah.
but there are benefits.
There are benefits for sure, but also it's changing the fabric of the city, changing the history of the stuff. Like LA, the people might always say, maybe the culprit to people saying LA has no history is because we're constantly accommodating for new people. So we don't have things for very long. Or what
Yeah.
we do have, they'll knock down the Brown Derby and turn it into 8 other stores
Yeah.
and 8 other businesses. It's constantly just changing because new people are shuffling
Maybe
in.
that's what Los Angeles is.
It's a constantly fluid city.
Yeah, is we can't have history. We have to always be changing.
That is miserable.
Never lie down for too long.
This city is it's going to be a constantly revolving of the things that used to be.
Yeah, I try to put myself when gentrification comes up, and I try to think of like how you must feel in Echo Park of like, well, this isn't the neighborhood I grew up in. In Los Angeles, I didn't experience that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think back of like the New York that I kind of knew when I was younger,
Yeah.
and even like what I knew just from history before that of like there's no delis anymore. Like there's what happened to the character, like the identity and the culture
Yeah.
that used to be be there. It's now Lululemon Deli.
And you have to
Delicious.
separate, like, at what point is this nostalgic and only for me, and at what point is this a problem for the city and the problem for the people of the city and the community as a whole? Like, when do I separate the two things?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's so weird to me that there's that coffee shop down by the gas station near my house called Chongo, and
Don't give too much away.
it closed down the Albate.
It's called Mongo.
It's now Mongo now. It used to be the Albate. It had a market and then a meat market. They closed the meat market side, and you might see it in Mi Vida Loca, and then it became Chongo, and that was like that was the first wave of gentrifiers that came. And then earlier this year they closed, and they were blaming gentrification. I'm like, but you gentrified to get here in this spot. You've served coffee to people that was too expensive for the locals.
A bigger tidal wave came.
It's like it's first wave blaming third wave generation or gentrification, and it's happening. So it's now they've been here so long, 17 years, and they can play that card too. It's so weird because they changed the fabric of the area.
But then you look at a place like Van Nuys.
No, thank you.
I would rather not.
I'd rather not look at Van Nuys or Sun Valley.
I try to put on my darkest sunshades. Sunshades.
That's
what I call them.
You're from a different country.
I come from Sunshadia. I look at Van Nuys Boulevard in Van Nuys, and it has so much potential to be such a cool street.
Yeah.
And all it is right now is check cashing and like 3 shoe stores over and over again. There's so much that could be there, but at the same time, the people who live there kind of depend on these check cashing places, these shoe places.
Yeah. Panorama City is another place.
Panorama City, yeah.
I think like, that mall has, like, you can do a lot with that, but at the same time, like, will that push out people who are living nearby who like, that is just a spot where we can afford to live with our family? It is
questions, no answers.
No questions, no answers. It is a seesaw stuck right in the middle with 2 twins sitting on both sides.
Identical weight twins. Their moles are the same size.
They look different, but they weigh exactly the same. Born at the same time.
It's the 4th of July. It's America on a seesaw, man. I don't know. I have no idea how you solve this. Yeah, we're not
it's
supposed
okay
to know. We're not the ones in charge.
But like, something's going to happen. Like, that's the thing, is that if we don't know, that's fine. If we don't know, but something is eventually going to happen.
Is something going to happen? I mean, is it just gonna?
Something will happen because things happen. Events happen. Like, everything happens.
I keep bringing it back to Manhattan because it's sort of like Los Angeles 50 years in the future of dealing with this same thing. In Manhattan, it's either young people living 10 people in an apartment, or it's these empty apartments that are owned by billionaires in Russia or something. Is that what LA is going towards?
It certainly
tune in next month.
We'll let you know how that progresses every month for the rest of this podcast. It certainly feels like that. It certainly feels like most of my friends and family live in small places with a lot of people, and then you have Hollywood Hills where somebody has a 3-bedroom house to themselves
that they only use for parties.
Exactly, that they only invite prostitutes over for sex workers.
Sorry, I'm horny. Are we missing something? I feel like we're missing something.
Probably a lot. We're not necessarily.
We're not qualified.
No.
If we said anything tin-eared or stupid or ignorant, like I have no idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I probably went on a couple stupid things there. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't regret what I said about Palmdale, though.
That's the only smart thing I said.
That was wholly informed. I don't see a solution. People will tell you one thing, this is the answer, and other people will tell you that's not the answer, this is the answer.
And all based on their own personal experiences and their own perspective, and I hate that.
Yeah.
Just give me an objective answer.
You can hate gentrification all you want, but you also like this restaurant that's there.
I hate seeing the Echo Park Lake in movies and commercials, but it's so beautiful now, and I love the swans they have, and I like that there are a lot of people there. I like the idea of a community going to a park. I like that idea, and that's what they try to sell you with Schutz Park and all those old parks of like, everybody, there's nothing else to do, let's all go to the park that day, and we have our families, and it is different classes of people there. There are like families having birthday parties at the tables, and then like a couples on dates, and then like a bunch of people playing hacky sack, and I hate hacky sack, but they're entitled to do it, and they're all at Echo Park Lake, and that's great. And then I watch a TV show. I don't like to attack white people too much.
Sure doesn't feel like that.
A movie where 2 white people are at the park, and there's no other races, and there's no other. It's just like one experience captured, and that's fine. And that's an experience there. I'm not gonna say that's not an experience there, but it's just that there was not movies about the Echo Park Lake very often when it was. I mean, Mi Vida Loca happened there, and that's great, but there wasn't a place where people stopped to make movies before, and now it is.
Well. We like making movies, but is it even a race thing, or is it just a money thing?
I'll never know. I can scream both.
Or is the money thing because of a race thing? It's not a race thing, it's a money thing, but the money thing is because of a race thing. Like this whole thing is swallowing itself.
It is that.
Yeah. The problems go even deeper.
Yeah, when minority or people of color scream white people, we mean rich white people. And rich white people who have no experience like we've had.
So the changes have to come from an even deeper level before we can even attempt to change what's happening now. Before we can have this harmony of a nice place with local character where rich people are living side by side with average people.
Yeah, exactly.
There has to be some other change deeper first.
It has to, yeah. I've always thought like it's not that people in areas like Echo Park or Highland Park don't want good changes, is that we wanted to come from within, and it almost felt like impossible to do that. So when other people came in and did it, it was almost like a spit in the face, not because we didn't want those things, but we wanted to come from us, and it came from these outsiders who haven't lived here very long. They make cool things, but they don't make things, it feels like it's not going toward or from or towards the community.
Then why didn't you start a model UN club or something like that? Well, maybe that is what it is. In Boyle Heights, they're very much taking control of the situation.
Yeah, and they've had the loudest voice for anti-gentrification.
Yeah.
And it's somehow always been Boyle Heights.
I know.
Since like the 40s, it's always been people from Boyle Heights.
But that's another thing. Like, it changed from Jewish to Mexican to what is it going to be next? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that progress was as seamless as always, but
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. The Jewish to Mexican transition wasn't rich Mexican people moving it. It was Jewish people. The community was getting money and moving somewhere else, and then a community that was at their previous income level was moving in. It wasn't what it is now, where it's higher
income classes moving in on a lower income
it's a
class.
Different thing then.
Yeah.
So again, there's my ignorance. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I have no idea.
And that's been.
This is the second time we've in sync this week had to be like, no idea.
So please stop asking us. If you have no idea how to express your love for us.
Or your love for the city.
Go leave us a review on iTunes.
Yeah.
If you have an iPhone, just open up your podcast app, leave some stars, search L.A. Meekly, leave a few stars, leave a few words. If you want, you don't even have to. You could just press stars, however you press stars.
If you want to leave a review that just says stars, that's fine.
Stars.
But,
Stars, exclamation point.
But we would appreciate it.
We would appreciate it because it gives us more social currency, legitimacy. When people are looking for Los Angeles podcasts, they say, oh, this one has 68 reviews. That sounds legitimate.
Yeah.
It's not. But,
and they're an actual history podcast.
Yeah. This isn't Oprah talking about something that had to do with LA. This is actually about LA. Okay. Yeah, so do that. It helps us out a lot. You can follow us on Instagram at LA_Meekly. I guess there's no at in that. On Twitter at LA Meekly. Like us on Facebook.
We are on Tumblr. That's our main page, lameekly.tumblr.com. Email us questions for the beginning of the podcast or
suggestions
or field trip suggestions.
Field trip episodes if you work at an interesting or historic place and you want us to come interview you there. Let us know. You can listen to these episodes on YouTube. Yeah. A lot of people are doing that now, I've noticed, actually, which is pretty cool. It sends us all of your personal information when you do that, which is even better. We're on Stitcher.
We're on Stitcher. Thank you. Mm-hmm. We also have a Patreon page going right now if you want to support us financially, of course.
Yeah, monthly, heavily, generously, like
rain from heaven.
Like Ebenezer on Christmas Day. Suddenly you're loose with your wallet.
If you want to send us a turkey, I'm your Tiny Tim. This is the Tiny Tim podcast.
And you can call me Al. Right now, mainly we just have postcard thing, and we could do some bonus content for you if you want. But we're coming up with some really good merchandise that
merch is coming.
I think you're gonna like.
The buttons aren't working out like I wanted to, but you might like the rest.
You might like these defective buttons we made. This is a shorter episode, thank God.
I'm sure you give them a minute for the clapping to come down. The applause after you said that to die out.
They're gonna applaud for another 45 minutes to make it a regular length episode. Yeah, this is a shorter one. We just wanted to talk about something a little current with a little historical flavor underneath.
Nailed it.
It's something a little different. Maybe you like that or not.
Yeah.
It wasn't too funny. I don't think I said anything funny. Oh no.
Well, you yelled at Palmdale. That was pretty funny.
That wasn't funny. That was I just saw blood when I did that.
Why are my teeth sharp for some reason?
Yeah, it was just something different. Something look, we're busy this month. We wanted something a little lighter on our shoulders. Give us a break. We'll be completely honest with you. We don't care about housing. Let them all be homeless. I'll be living on the top of the Wilshire Grand.
I'll see you in Getty's Pool, which is where I live now, on a little floating flamingo.
It's a real flamingo, though. Any last words, Greg?
Last words, Greg.
That
I did it wrong.
No, that is so funny.
That was literally so funny.
That should be its own Netflix special.
People are going to say it's so funny that they didn't laugh. That's how funny it was.
Yeah, we're used to that. Remember when people used to say it was so funny I forgot to laugh?
Just as I said that right now, remember that was a thing.
That was one of the most used phrases to bully me growing up. Thanks for bringing that up. I hope you become homeless.
I remember, thanks. One paycheck away from it.
One loose nail on the road away from being homeless.
Do you remember the first time you ever heard that so funny I forgot to laugh?
No.
And like how devastating that was? Like,
how could you forget?
No, you'll remember later. Yeah. It'll hit you 2 a.m.
I could say it again and you can remember.
I remember my uncle used to do the thing where he'd be playing a song on the radio and I would like it and I would sing along and he would be like, who sings this? And I'd be like, oh, that's the Rolling Stones. He's like, oh, let them sing it. And just like the heartbreak and the quiet that followed that.
You know, you should have told him. It was so funny I forgot to laugh.
And then I reach over and honk the horn.
And you run over a nail and you're both homeless. All right. Well, that's been a briefer episode of LA Meekly for you. We've had no idea since 2013.
That's where jazz plays after this.
I gotta buy real estate.
Da 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 da.
Stop it.